Hello, this is Overlord Boat, and we're back with this SAT score, and today we'll be looking at the new super ships that were added onto the PTS, and we'll be doing a ship highlight on the Conde and why that ship is the most powerful super ship to date. So, we're going to be looking at the Hanover. The Hanover is essentially a curve first with 8 483mm guns. Her super ship gimmick is a massive increase in secondary gun accuracy. It requires 16 main battery hits to activate. It can also get close as well as to the water if it's locked onto the target. Your secondary range is buffed by 12%. With a 20% battery reload time, so it gets buffed with that as well. And it also increases the accuracy as well. It doesn't show that there though, but I know it does from experience with it. The dispersion, but it's pretty nice. It does have a 50-second action time, and something that they did from the previous patch that this one, they made it where instead of it just being activated when you did the hits, it now activates by you clicking the F key instead. So it's something that you can build up, have it ready, and use it when you feel like it's the most important. The next ship is the Satsuma. It is essentially a Shikishima with 2 extra guns. Her gimmick is the massively increased main gun accuracy. It requires 12 main gun hits to activate. It makes her dispersion 35% closer, so it makes the Sigma better for that shot. It does have a 50-second action time, so it'll apply to about 2 salvos. If you're lower health and have adrenaline rush, it will apply for 3 shots instead of the 2, as long as you have enough adrenaline rush. The next ship is the Zorki. This ship is pretty much a combo with 8-kilometer torps and a burst fire mode. Now, this ship's gimmick is a new feature they've added to this few of the super ships is burst fire, which allows the Kaba to fire 4 salvos in quick succession. The Zorki can fire 8 normal salvos for every 4 salvos fired in burst mode. Now, HE cells using the burst fire mode during this, at first will have the 27mm HE pen, and if you have IFHE, will be 34mm. But during this, it does get an increased HE pen. So right now it shows that it's currently at 22. When you use the burst, it goes up 25%, which goes to the 27. If you have IFHE, it goes to 34. Now during this burst, it does lose 25% of its dispersion. Now, you may think that's a bad thing, but during this, you're getting 4 salvos off in really quick succession. So if you're in a gunfight really close to a DD, you're able to just knock out its health super quickly, which is really effective. So the Annapolis will be the next one to look at. It's pretty much a Des Moines with the ABXY turret arrangement. Pretty much like a Buffalo. It does have the same burst fire as the Zorki, but instead of it shooting 4 salvos, it only shoots 2 salvos in quick succession. It does have a 40-second reload penalty, just like the Zorki. And during this one's burst fire, it gets a buff of 25% to its dispersion, which makes it more accurate during that. Now, the Annapolis can fire 6 salvos normally for every 2 salvos using the burst. So it all depends upon situations on if you want to use the burst. Now the Yamaguri is a Shikishima with high AT guns and 3 sextuple torpedo tubes, torpedo launchers. So it has 18 torpedoes. It also has an alternative torp launchers, so you can either pick where you want the 20-kilometer torps for the 68 knots, or you can pick the ones that are 12 kilometers that go 74 knots. Now, if you're trying to switch in between these, it is a 20-second delay. So if you're switching from this one and you do this, so it takes 20 seconds, and it will continue the reload of the torps after that. So the torpedoes do share the same reload. They have the exact same amount of time it takes to reload, but if you do switch, it does cost you 20 seconds. Now, the main ship we'll be talking about and watching a review of today is the Conde, which is better known as the H5V, which is also known as the Henri V head, for pretty much it makes it the most powerful and the most powerful super ship so far. Now the H5V has 3 quad turrets, so that's equal to 12 guns with burst fire mode. Now it does have the same burst fire as the Zorki and the Annapolis, but this one has 3 salvos in quick succession with the 40-second penalty for its reload. Now it does get a maximum dispersion nerf of 25%, so it makes it less accurate during this. But we'll get onto that in a little bit. But yep, so with that, we are going to go into and watch the replay of the match, and I'll let SAT score carry us off from there.
All right. So to summarize, Wargaming has put 6 new super ships into the test server. So 2 of these we've already seen, Hanover and Satsuma. They have reworked their consumables a little bit to make them more unique. Zorki, Annapolis, and Conde all share the same burst fire mode. It's just that they have slight differences between them. Of those, the H5V seems to have the best combination. It has the HIV hull, but with quad turrets instead of triple turrets, so it gets 33% more firepower at base. So even if you just use the single fire and play her as normal, you have a HIV with 33% more firepower. But what makes her unique here is the burst fire capability. So you can fire 3 salvos in quick succession, and although you have a 40-second reload time, this is somewhat mitigated by her reload booster, so you can already cut that down to half. The 25% increase in dispersion is definitely a nerf, but it's not necessarily a huge nerf because Conde still uses the cruiser dispersion. Considering that you have 240mm guns, which gives you good penetration, if you're able to get to a broadside of a cruiser or even many battleships, you will absolutely wreck them. Like, you're literally firing 36 AP salvos into their broadside in quick succession. If you use the reload booster, you can do this twice as fast. So in theory, you can get about 72 shots out in about 20-25 seconds, which is quite ridiculous if you think about it.
And
so unfortunate. Go on, Bo.
And something to consider is that if you build into reload and have adrenaline rush, it makes this burst even faster of a reload, which a lot of people don't consider. And also the fact is that the Henry's, if you pretty much think of this as a Henry, the Henry has amazing pin already. So this ship is just going, as you saw there, it's going to slap anything that gets its broadside too. And again, I know this is co-op, so I do apologize. I was playing this in ranked and pretty much having the same as results, but because I ranked out, I wasn't able to get a replay from ranked, so I asked my chat if it was fine for me to use a co-op one for the video, because there were ones wanting me to do the video on this. So I do apologize for that. SATs, where you can go on.
So yeah, it still shows the capabilities of the H5 head, because it absolutely devastates. It consistently punishes people who show broadside. With battleships, sometimes you have that issue of getting overpins under one salvo, which definitely is frustrating. But here, even if you get bad RNG, you literally shoot out so many shells that it actually does a good job of mitigating it. Like, even against this Hanover, sure, you're not going to get a Citadel, but you absolutely you took out about 40% of his health in one go, and you get to do it again in 20 seconds. By the way, this is like Hanover, even if he was a player, he would have only got one salvo in that entire engagement in that same time frame. So literally, you're firing 72 salvos in a space that it takes a battleship to fire one.
Oh, you mean 6 salvos for the one?
Yes, 6 cruiser salvos, given that it's HIV shells, is pretty good. You can think of it as like battle cruiser quality, although not quite the same.
Yeah, a lot of people hold Henry in high regard. So the Henry is known as the Henry IV. So this is known as the Super-Henri, and people are calling it the Henry V head, which is a very fitting name for how much damage he can do. We're already at 201,000 damage. And I know this is co-op, but there's been a lot of people testing this in the current PTS, and it is just insane. Because the normal time for the in between the shots of each of those cells during the burst is normally really short. Like it's already short, like 0.8 seconds or so. But when you use the reload booster, it buffs it even more to where you get all 3 of those salvos within 1 second. And when you have 36 shells going in that amount of time, it is insane. So this
to we can actually compare this to the other 2 ships with burst fire. So you mentioned the Zorki. Zorki's burst fire is not quite as good just because she has destroyer caliber guns. Like, yeah, she gets increased penetration to somewhat make up for it, but she doesn't have that same kind of burst capability. And I think a lot of players will end up just using the single fire instead. Annapolis fires less salvos, but is more accurate. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better though, because it just has a lot of issue. If it's not close enough, then you'll lose a lot of damage through your burst fire. And if you miss completely, that's 40 seconds off the reload. Like you're literally firing. You can fire 6 normal salvos in that time frame where it takes to reload.
Yep.
Conde H5V doesn't have that same problem. It's actually about the same. You can fire your 3 salvos up front, or just fire it normally. There's no difference in DPM.
Mm-hmm. But the Zorki, for sure, I've been able to play it a lot. I love the single fire, and the thing is that it also has very strong AP. So whenever there's AD trying to angle or try to run away or try to push in more, I'll switch over to AP to get those really nice angled AP pens, and it will just devastate, absolutely destroy any DDs that you're trying to fight. It will decimate them. It's brutal, but also so good feeling too. But that is the replay we had for the Conde, the H5V. Is there anything else you think we should add on these particular ships before we end it for the day?
So keep in mind, this was done in a PTS server, so the super ship stats are still subject to change. Expect Wargaming to make adjustments before they head into the final game.
I definitely expect them to either change how the main battle reload works or just take it out completely. If they take out the main battle reload booster for the Conde, it's still a strong ship. But as of right now, if you want to consider super ships to be tier 11, this ship is at currently tier 12 in how powerful it is. So we'll definitely have to wait and see how it goes. But that is all for the day. Thank you so much again, SAT Score, for your help today, brother. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely leave them down in the comments below. But again, this is Overlord Boat, and I'll talk to y'all later.